Call to order this meeting of the Bartlett Plan Commission for June 13th, 2019 at 7 p.m. Secretary, call the roll.
Jim Lemberg. Mark Hopkins.
Here.
Tim Ridenauer. John Miasso.
Here.
Diane Nagel. Here. Austin Hopkins.
Here.
Jack Yellen.
Here.
Jerry Callis.
Here.
Dan Gunstein.
There.
He's walking in.
There.
We have a quorum.
We have a quorum. Very good. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the March 14th, 2019 meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Second.
Second. Any discussions? Secretary, call the roll.
Mark Hopkins.
Yes.
John Miasso.
Yes.
Diane Nagel.
Abstain.
Austin Hopkins.
Yes.
Jack Allen. Jerry Callis.
Yes.
Dan Gunstein.
Yes.
And Jim Lemberg.
Yes. This evening, we have 3 public hearings. If anyone in the audience this evening is going to have a comment, question, or a statement to make, we have a form by the podium over here to fill out. And I think there's some on that table in the back there. And the staff will call your name when it's time to have you come up to the podium to speak. And when you come up, we'd like to have your name and address, please. We're going to change the order of the we're going to change the order of the items that we're going to be covering today. The first item is going to be item 19-7, Project Oak. Second will be 19-8, the Bartlett Tap. And a third will be 19-5, Bannerman's Beer Garden. So for the first item, 19-7, Project Oak, site plan, special use permit to allow a building 50 feet in height. Again, this is a public hearing. And let's see, this one is going to be Roberta. You have the documents and
We do.
we do. Okay, could you give us some background, please?
Sure. The petitioner is requesting a site plan review for a proposed 400,000 square foot warehouse building, which would be Phase 1, with a 75,000 square foot addition known as Phase 2 on 26 acres in the Cook County portion of the Brewster Creek Business Park. A 17,000 square foot office space is identified at the northwest corner of the building, with the remaining 382,000 square feet designated for warehouse space. The proposed building would be constructed with insulated precast concrete panels with recessed precast accent panels. The color palette proposed will consist primarily of varying shades of white gray with blue and orange color accents. Pre-finished metal canopies would be located over the entranceways and over the patio area. The overall proposed height of the building is 44 feet, but to allow for some flexibility within the interior of the building, the petitioners are requesting a special use permit to increase this height to 50 feet. The site plan identifies 62 exterior docks, 36 on the north side and 26 on the south side. The I-2 EDA zoning district requires the docks on the north side of the building to be enclosed and recessed 15 feet from the front building elevation due to their location along a corner side yard, which in this case would be Jack Court. The petitioner is requesting a variation from this requirement along the north side of the building to allow for the proposed 36 loading docks. There would be landscaping, including evergreen trees, incorporated along the north property line and the required parkway trees along Jack Court, which would also provide screening of this loading area from the roadway. 3 curb cuts are proposed along Spitzer, which is the west property line, and 1 along future Jack Court, the north property line. Passenger vehicles would utilize the 2 northern curb cuts to access the employee parking area, with the southernmost curb cut to be utilized as an entrance exit for trucks only, and the curb cut on Jack Court is identified as an exit only for trucks. Each of the curb cuts for the truck entrance exits would be gated with trucks equipped with an electronic system that would enable them access to the loading areas on both the north and the south sides. The petitioner is requesting a variation to allow for a reduction in the required number of parking spaces. The site plan identifies 272 spaces. The zoning ordinance requires 447 spaces for Phase 1, and if Phase 2 were built, a total of 522 parking spaces would be required. The plan, however, identifies 253 future land bank parking spaces, which would increase the total parking provided on the site to 525, and if these spaces were constructed, would satisfy the zoning ordinance requirement. The site plan identifies 30 truck trailer stalls for additional parking along the south property line. This is adjacent to the Commonwealth Edison right-of-way, and landscaping is also proposed in this area to help screen the trailers. A 7-foot-high black vinyl-clad fence is proposed within the corner side yard along future Jack Court to secure the loading dock areas. This fence would exceed the 4-foot height maximum permitted in a corner side yard, and as a result, the petitioner is requesting a variation to allow for the proposed fence height. All three of the variations that I've mentioned tonight were discussed and recommended for approval by the Zoning Board of Appeals last Thursday on June 6th. The photometric and landscape plans are currently being reviewed by staff, and we do recommend approval subject to the conditions and findings of fact outlined in your staff report. The petitioners are here tonight to answer any of your questions.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here this evening? Could you stand, and anyone else that's going to give testimony and be sworn in, please? Could you raise your right hand? You swear the testimony you're about to give is true and accurate to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Thank you. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
Not really. Well, I guess, 16, 17 years ago, I remember we came with our first project, which I'm Jeff with Triumph Construction Services. We brought the first project to DuPage County side at the start of the park, and it's kind of bittersweet now, after all this time, we're bringing the first project to actually kick off the Cook County side now. It's been a long run, but a good run.
Yeah, this is our very first project in Cook County in the TIF, so it would be a tremendous help.
Are there any questions from the members?
Just a question to Roberta. Are there other buildings that are that height out in Brewster Creek?
We've had some that were 44 feet, 10 inches, very close to the 45-foot mark. This would, I think, according to my stats here, be the first one that, if they decide to go 50 feet, would be the tallest in the park. But we have two others that are 44, the same height that they're proposing.
Okay.
If we approve this, are we setting a precedent on this?
Well, I would say the park's about 80% complete,
Oh, yes.
so not really. No.
Okay.
Is our code, is our buildings not tall enough? Are we not allowing them to, should we be changing that? It seems like a lot of them have needed that height or more. And you said more flexibility within the building. What did you need?
That's kind of my fault. I think it was 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when I was called up before the village board, and they asked me in a meeting, Jeff, how high would you say we should go? And I said 45 feet.
Oh.
And they went 45 feet, so it's kind of my fault.
We did what he asked, and the board approved 45 feet, because we used to be 35 feet.
So you want to make it 50 now?
The buildings keep evolving, they keep getting taller, and people want to stack higher inside. So at that point in time, 45 feet was pretty much what everybody was doing. I think that's, 6 years ago,
Is that-
maybe?
Yeah.
Is that for the internal storage then of your?
Yes. With the storage systems, getting more complex and how they do them, they can store higher and higher.
Question for staff. Could you discuss the process of reviewing and the parking variation and the rationales that were presented in general? I know you went over this in detail, but in order to satisfy curiosity, right? What was the process for review and approval of that variation in the other committee?
Okay, so their parking requirements are based on office space and warehouse space. And according to that requirement, we had 522 parking spaces that would be required under the zoning ordinance. If they are providing 272 parking spaces, and we have been told by the petitioner that at the peak shift, that they would have about 170 employees. So at the beginning, when this opens, they would have 100 spaces more than what they would require for the employees. So they are land banking 253, and we have two other developments in the Brewster Creek Business Park that have also had land banking agreements. Neither one of those have any parking problems in the park. So if they built out all of the land bank parking, they would be, yes, they would be over the requirement.
What would trigger you say, I'll build them if I need them?
He would.
Yes, we would.
I think so, too. Second question for you, Berta, was just refresh us, please, on how you measure the height of a building.
Well, if you put up the building elevations. I can't.
One more and I'll be done.
This one's pretty, there's pretty much an even, I would say there's not much fluctuation on the height on this building, wouldn't you say, Jeff?
Very, very limited.
Yeah, so, I mean, the maximum height, we went to the maximum height on this one. There's no average.
Including rooftop equipment, which is my next question, but
Jeff, I'll let you talk about that rooftop.
You and I were talking about the code the other day.
Yeah.
Rooftop equipment, that's an ancillary piece that sits on top above.
talking to the highest point of a parapet, highest point?
Oh, the highest point, we're talking about 45 feet would be the highest.
Parapet.
Of the parapet on the building.
Yes,
Just
yes.
wanted to know if it was
yes.
that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
And,
it's the highest point.
and we did talk about rooftop mechanicals, and they are pulling those away from the,
Yes, we're trying to put them out of line of sight.
yes.
So that means they're not screened, is what you're telling me.
They're putting them more towards the center of, I would say, the building,
See 'em.
rather than closer to the ends.
So did
It'd be
they
farther
demonstrate
away.
to you that they're out of the sight lines?
They have provided us with a sightline
Line of sight studies.
cross-section.
Yeah, line of sight studies.
Yeah, and they showed us that the small parapet from the roadway on Spitzer, that it would screen it.
Normally, that's something that we take a look at, and that would have been something I appreciate in the packet, if you don't mind, coming. I completely agree with what you're doing, if it's out of the sight lines due to the parapet from the approach to the building, right?
Right,
Okay.
right.
All right. That's great. That's all I had.
Just, we can condition that if you want to see it. It's up to you.
If you say it's good, it's good.
Okay.
It's a nice-looking building. I like
Yeah,
the
it's
colors.
beautiful.
Thank you. I can't take credit for it.
Oh, wow, you could have.
But you're here, so you can.
Yes, I did it.
Good job.
Any further questions? Okay, then it,
Where it sits, it's about the highest elevation out there, that lot, isn't it?
Yeah, on the Cook County side, I believe it's probably going to be the highest elevation out there. The roadways, the roadway, I think at the center point of our building is 3 foot, is the tallest part of Spitzer Road.
So if the mechanicals are towards the middle, you're really not going to be able to see them over the edge of the building.
No, and that's the line of sight studies that we've been doing, that I've showed her.
Anything else?
anything else? Okay, then at this time, I'd like to open up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that has any questions or comments? Anyone? No one in the audience. Close the public portion of the meeting. Anyone else have any further comments, questions before we take a vote? Nope. Okay. Then I'm looking for a motion to recommend approval of the petitioner's request for a site plan and special use permit, subject to the conditions and finding of fact.
So moved?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? Secretary call the roll.
John Miasso,
Yes.
Diane Nagel,
Yes.
Austin Hopkins,
Yes.
Jack Allen,
Yes.
Jerry Callis,
Yes.
Dan Gunstein,
Yes.
and Mark Hopkins.
Yes.
Fine. Okay, carried. Good luck, thank you. Okay, next item on our agenda is number 19-08, the Bartlett Tap special use permit to allow live entertainment indoor only. Again, this is a public hearing. If there's anyone that has a question or a comment, we're asking that you fill out the forms there at the podium.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recuse myself of this agenda item.
Okay, let the record show that Mr. Hopkins is recused. Okay, Renee, could you give us some background, please?
The petitioner is requesting a special use permit to allow for live entertainment events conducted indoors only. This special use permit will not allow for live entertainment outside the building. And the addition of these live entertainment events in no way changes the demand for parking on the site. So the staff recommends approval of the petitioner's request, subject to the conditions and finding of fact as outlined in the staff memo. And the petitioner is not with us this evening, but will answer any questions that you may have.
Do we have the documents posting of the?
Yes, we do.
We do, okay. And you say the petitioner's not here this evening?
That's correct.
Okay. Are there any questions from the members?
I just have a quick question for staff. I'm just curious on the music or entertainment, is that something that all businesses in Bartlett have to obtain a special use permit for, and why? Just out of curiosity.
It's in our zoning ordinance that any kind of live entertainment requires a special use permit.
Okay.
We've issued several of them, actually.
How many venues do we currently have? Do you know right now in the Village of Bartlett that have?
The first one that comes to my mind, well, there's the one on Lake Street, the Alfaro Restaurant, that was probably granted about 10 years ago, and then I want to say Pasta Mia might have it. There's a couple, I'd say maybe 5.
Okay. We haven't had any issues with any of that.
Well, I don't recall any issues, no.
Anyone else with a question, comment? Okay, at this time, I'd like to open up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that has a question or comment? Anyone in the audience? No one? Well, this is the public portion of this meeting. So, members have any further things? Nope. Okay, then I'm looking for a recommendation of approval for the petitioner's request, subject to the conditions and finding of fact.
Recommend approval?
Second?
Any further discussion?
No.
Secretary call the roll.
Diane Nagel,
Yes.
Jack Allen. Yes. Jerry Callis,
Yes.
Dan Gunstein.
Yes.
Mark Hopkins. Yes. John Miasso.
Yes.
Okay. Let's go through. The next item on the agenda is number 19-05, Bannerman's.
Let the record reflect that Austin Hopkins rejoined the Plan Commission at
Decided to rejoin us.
8:21,
Okay.
7:21.
19-05, Bannerman's Beer Gardens, special use permit to allow outdoor seating, including the serving of food and liquor. Again, this is a public hearing. Anyone that has a question or a comment, fill out the form and hand it in to the staff, and we'll call your name at the appropriate time. And this one is going to be Christie. You have the documents there?
We have evidence of the mailing as well as the public hearing notice publication. The petitioner is requesting a special use permit to allow outdoor seating, including the serving of food and liquor. Bannerman's has occupied 12,573 square feet of Bartlett Commons since 2007. The petitioner recently purchased Bannerman's from the previous owner in the fall of last year. The petitioner would like to enclose an existing fenced-in area which was approved by Ordinance 1993-119 that was used by a previous tenant as an outdoor play area into an outdoor beer garden in the rear of the building directly south of Bannerman's lease space. The beer garden would include 10 tables with a total of 40 seats. The petitioner is proposing to have TVs and numerous outdoor games, occasional acoustical music, no amplification in the outdoor beer garden. The existing 6-foot-tall wood fence will be repaired, and a new fencing will be installed to provide an emergency walkway for the current karate tenant that's just south of Bannerman's. There will be a gate on the south side of the fence, but it will be locked, so patrons cannot enter and exit through the beer garden, but it will be accessible to the fire department. Bannerman's is currently open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., Sunday through Tuesday, 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Thursday, and 11 a.m. to 1 a.m. Friday and Saturday, and has a Class A liquor license. The petitioner is requesting that the outdoor beer garden be open to the same hours as the indoor operations listed above. The Committee of the Whole reviewed the petitioner's request at their meeting on May 21st. They had some concerns about the proposed hours of the beer garden and the proximity of the beer garden to with the homes to the west. Staff has provided an exhibit within your packet that provides the distances from the proposed beer garden to the homes. It ranges from 175 feet to 325 feet. If the Plan Commission recommends approval, staff has proposed several conditions and findings of fact that should be applied. The petitioner is here if you have any questions or comments.
Okay, also this evening, we have this letter that came from Rochelle Przymski. Have that entered into the record?
As Exhibit D?
Exhibit D.
Is the petitioner here this evening? Anyone else going to give testimony besides you? Okay. On behalf of the petitioner? No. Could you raise your right hand, please? You swear the testimony you're about to give is true and accurate to the best of your knowledge? Thank you. Would you like to have anything else to add to the staff? Could you state your name and address, please?
My name is Matt, and I'm the new owner of Bannerman's. I've had the pleasure of owning Bannerman since last fall. I think the only thing I want to emphasize is that we're not proposing to have a live music venue. There's no amplification out there. I think that's important to understand. This vision came about as a result of our customers requesting a place for them to sit outside in the summer. There have been several customers asking for an outdoor area, and we're proposing just to have a family-friendly atmosphere with tables and food and drinks. No amplification, no live music. We're open to meeting with, understanding our neighbors' concerns about noise. So I'm willing to work with everybody to make sure that there's no loud music. The hours are probably negotiable as well in terms of how many hours we want to have it open. So I'm willing to do all that stuff to be able to get this approved. That's all I want to add tonight. Any questions?
Okay, members, go ahead.
Yes, you mentioned the hours of operation, and I think for me, I think it's a great idea to have outdoor seating. I think it's what a lot of people want. They want to be outside and enjoy the weather. I think the hours proposed might be a little late, given that the homes that are nearby. I know we had another place that had an outdoor beer garden. We had adjusted the hours, and again, it's up to staff and the board and the commission what they might think was best. But I just jotting down. I mean, in my mind, would 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday be outrageous, and then like a Friday, Saturday, 11 p.m. potentially again up to the commission and the
I
staff.
think I'm very much open to that idea. I've thought about that as well. I think that enables us to close the outdoor and bring everybody indoors and be able to close it down at 10 o'clock Sunday through Thursday and then 11 o'clock Friday and Saturday. I think that's feasible for us, and that is not too late for our neighbors, I hope, as well.
Okay. And then I don't know about, it says the fence height is currently 6 feet.
Correct.
Is that able to go up to an 8-foot fence?
I'd have to talk to the owner because it belongs to the building owner. We can certainly propose that to him and see what he says. There's going to be a cost, obviously, to him. So I'm not going to speak for him.
Sure.
But I can certainly ask that of him and see if he's willing to do that.
Yeah, I just think it's just another way to help kind of keep the sound.
Yeah, there, by the road, there is a, I want to say 8 feet tall wall plus some trees.
Okay.
It's kind of hidden from our neighbors on the east side. But I'm willing to ask the building owner to see if it raised the fence to 8 feet.
Okay. And then the last question I have, I know you said acoustic music outdoors. I know sometimes with acoustic musicians, they still have a microphone to help amplify their voice, maybe not necessarily always the guitar.
Right.
So that's something that you would just not allow?
We're not allowed because it's really small space, 2,500 square feet. So if they have a guitar, they want to just play the guitar. It's easy for people to hear it.
Okay.
It won't be anything loud like that.
Okay.
Now, our TVs might have a couple speakers,
Yeah.
but those are, certainly the games will be done by 9:30 at night, so we'll turn off the speakers after the games are done.
Okay.
And in the summer, it's usually the Cubs or the Sox that are playing anyways.
And then, no, I think that's all the questions I have.
Anything else?
I have a question for staff. So, Bartlett Municipal Code says that they, prohibits excessive noise. So what are really the parameters to define what excessive noise is, in particular to the reference of how many feet is that noise allowed to radiate from from Bannerman's to, because right here on the distances to nearby homes, the closest one is 175 feet. So what is excess? How many feet?
We follow the state standards. Typically, the police department are the ones that enforce the excessive noise. When they go out there, if the police officers typically will go into the business if they feel they can hear it at the property lines and it seems excessive, they will go in and ask that the music be turned down.
So there's not necessarily a footage that's assigned to that, it's if I can hear it.
And
So it has to
the way
happen
that
first.
the state regs read, it says at the property line.
At the property line? How many feet does he have to the property line then, from the back?
I believe they have about 35 feet to the property line.
I don't know, is that doable for you? Because according to this letter from Rochelle here, she says that she's hearing it even through closed bedroom windows, some of the noise.
Well, that's all of the live bands that we have, so we're not proposing any live bands here. And quite honestly, I've tested it myself. When we have a live band inside, gone to the back of the building, it's barely hearable by me. So I'm sure that we can test that again and have somebody go there and listen to it. It's not that loud at all. But we're talking about live bands where we have it inside. In this case, there will be no live band or no amplification at all. So it'll be just people sitting down, having dinner and talking.
Do you feel that the residents are being accommodated or listened to at all when they do have these kind of complaints? Or is it being resolved, or they feel that it's an ongoing issue?
I couldn't answer that because when they have a complaint like that, I think the police department comes in there and they check it out. So I'm not sure what the answer is back to the residents. I've only been there 9 months and I haven't heard any complaints yet, but I'm sure there have been historically some complaints there.
So are you made aware of these complaints or issues with the...
Prior to me, no, but after I've taken over, I haven't had any yet, personally.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a few questions. Being that you're going to have it open, first off, I frequent your facility and you guys do a great job there.
Thank you.
But I wanted to ask, if you're having it at night, I have a couple questions. How are you lighting it?
We're going to probably put some lights on a pole, and it's just straight lights with white bulbs.
Okay.
You know, so to be honest with you, I haven't thought about it yet that far. The first thing is to get the approval, and then we're going to talk about how we want to lay it out in terms of lighting and stuff like that. But it'll be just string lights on top.
The back door of your building is currently your rear egress, correct?
Correct.
That egress will spill out into this fenced-off area, correct?
Say it again, I'm sorry?
If somebody egresses out of the back, it will come into the fenced-off area. Am I correct on that?
This is actually a new door.
Where's the existing door?
They have an existing door here.
There.
Okay.
This is actually south of Bannerman's. So they're
Okay.
putting in a new side door to get out to this outdoor area. The outdoor area used to be for a daycare facility that was in this tenant space.
Right.
So the door to the outdoor will be from inside Bannerman's.
Okay.
We'll have to make a new door. People will come through there. There will be an emergency door at the beer garden outdoor area, but nobody can enter it. They can exit it if there's an emergency.
All right, so you have pretty loud bands there at night, and if you prop that door open, I can see that being loud music coming into the back. Is that something you're going to make sure doesn't happen? I mean, because a single doorway is going to, the sound's going to
Right.
come straight out. So I'm trying to figure out if you're able to mitigate that somehow.
Right, so our live bands, 95% of them are from the fall through the winter, and they end in May. Our proposal is to open the outdoor in May and have it in the summer. But I do see your point. Periodically, we might have a band in the summer inside as well, in which case I think we need to figure out how we're going to be able to minimize the noise for our neighbors as well. But that's something I need to think about.
The gate door that is on the fence, is that going to be locked, or is it going to be accessible for people to get out?
It's going to be accessible for people to get out with a sign that says emergency exit only.
Okay. Being at your facility a few times, I know a lot of people smoke along the front of the building. How are you going to prevent people from smoking in the back or utilizing that doorway as a smoking area?
It's going to be emergency only. They cannot get out there at all now. They're probably going to be able to smoke in the beer garden itself.
Within 15 feet of the building?
15 feet of the building. If it meets that 15 feet, we don't know yet because I got to measure it.
Is that, for staff, is that permitted under,
They have to be at least 15 feet away from the building.
in that corral, is that considered a portion of their?
There's a corner. How large is that?
Oh, that's wider than 50.
Yeah, I think back in the corner
Yeah,
there that
like
they
they
could.
would be able to smoke back here.
Yes.
The only regulations we have on smoking outdoors is just at entrances.
It's probably 25 feet from the building to the fence.
Okay. I think it's a tight quarters for people to sit and eat and have somebody smoking next to them, I'm going to be honest with you.
Are you proposing not to allow smoking back there at all?
I personally, as a business owner, I would, but I think that is, it's tight for people. I would not come back if somebody was smoking next to me
Right.
at your establishment. That's just my opinion on it. Personally, I think that it should be a non-smoking area.
Good feedback. I'll probably think about it a little bit more as well.
That's all the questions I have, and thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have a question? Comment?
I'd like to reserve comment till after we hear the public. If it's okay. Can I reserve comment until after we hear from the public? Thank you.
No one else?
That's what I'm waiting for, too.
All right, at this time, then, I'd open up this portion of the meeting to the public. If there's anyone that has a question or comment. Do we have the,
Yep, we have two.
go ahead.
Ally Dunsing?
Could you state your name and address, please?
Yes, my name is Allie Dunsing, and I reside at 1168 Foxborough Lane, Bartlett, Illinois.
Thank you.
So I'm here to discuss Bannerman's beer garden plans. I actually live in one of the houses that is directly behind Bannerman's. It was during my high school years that I began hearing Bannerman's loud music from inside their building late into the night. My family and I did everything we could to reason with Bannerman's then to keep the noise down, but they wouldn't hear us out. Because of this, calls to the Bartlett police were made and noise levels still wouldn't be lowered. There were many nights that I wouldn't be able to sleep late into the night because of the noise. Today, I sit before you as a college student, working not one but 2 jobs on top of taking multiple college classes. Bannerman's noise level inside the building continues to be loud to this day, and it is difficult to get any sleep. On May 11th, at about 12 a.m., Bannerman sounded like they were having a concert in the parking lot, when the band was actually inside the building. I called Bannerman's because the noise was keeping me awake. The person who answered my call couldn't hear me. He was yelling into the phone and shouted at me to hold on as he transferred me to a quieter place. Once I explained the noise level to him, there was no apology, only that it would stop soon. We have tried our best to work with Bannerman's over the years, but we are at a point where we will not tolerate the noise any longer. These long hours of loud noise are affecting this neighborhood greatly, and Bannerman's has made it known that they are not considerate of the community that lives around them. I ask that the beer garden plans not be passed. History has shown that noise levels are allowed inside the building, and this garden outside will be even worse. Intoxicated individuals will add to the noise that will already be at an extreme level. We all have families and responsibilities that need our attention, and Bannerman's will make that difficult with its 1 a.m. nights. I ask that you please picture yourselves and your families in the position we are in. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Do we have another?
Next one is Tiffany Dunsing.
State your name and address, please.
I'm Tiffany Dunsing. I live at 1168 Foxborough Lane. I'm Allie's mother. We've had to deal with this problem for the last 12 years. And if you want to know the reality of what happens when the police come, we call the police, they come, and they tell us that the village has approved this and allows it, and that there's nothing that they can do. So that's the reality of what happens when the police are called. We can hear the bands from inside the building, inside our home. So we can hear when the bands play, we can hear when the bands take a 20-minute break, and when the bands start again from inside our home. Since we've called the police, we have found that we have no recourse. There's no one who can help us. My family, no one more than her is paying the price for this company being in the location they're in. So I am requesting the Planning Commission not to allow the beer garden. I don't want extended hours to 2 a.m. or whatever they're requesting. And at this point in time, I'm at my wit's end, and I really want them to relocate. And that's pretty much all I have to say. Other than there's no decibel limits, nobody has any, the walls that he's talking about, it's not a sound barrier wall. The trees have been cut down, so there are no trees left. And we currently smell weed coming into our house when they're from just smoking around the building now. The smell of weed, not cigarettes, but weed. So they have proven not to be good neighbors, and I'm requesting that this request be denied. Do you have any questions for me?
What is your most recent, have you had recent encounters with the
Called it in
existing
May.
owner or the previous owners?
We've dealt with the previous owners, and since we had no recourse from the police would come and say they can't do anything for us, we resorted calling Bannerman's directly.
Okay.
And the previous owners would turn the music down. Nothing against you, but we're not having the same respect with this owner. I really want them to move at this point. Not only no beer garden, but I want them to move.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Have any others?
That's it.
Well, anyone else in the audience? No one? Close the public portion of this hearing. Anyone on the commission have any questions or comments?
No question, just a comment. A beer garden that close to homes is ridiculous. I don't care how hard you try to keep quiet, it's not going to be. You get 40 people out there drinking. Some of them have too much to drink. The volume of their voices go up louder and louder. You want TVs out there? You're going to control the sound of that TV? You're going to have speakers out there for some music? Are you going to control that? I doubt it. For you, I think, really, find an acre or two, build what you want, play, make as much as you can for the adults to play, and don't even bother with where you're located now. And as they say, you open that back door when you've got a band in there. I mean, you know, I don't live that far away, and I can hear it at times. So I think you just better just give up on your idea of that beer garden. There's another place that opened up a beer garden. The homes were a lot further away than these people are. And I find out from the owner's brother that it's not really working out. So think about it before you open it, before you try to open it. Like I said, I think the whole idea, I mean, it's a good idea if you're someplace where you're not going to bother anybody. But where you're located, there's homes too close, and you're not going to be able to control that sound. You're not going to be able to control the people that are sitting there talking and trying to overtalk each other, which gets louder and louder. I don't care what size fence you put up, it's still not going to stop it. So as far as I'm concerned, and it's only my opinion, you're a dead issue with me.
Anyone else have a comment? Question?
Yeah, I have. Can I go? In Christie's report, it refers to the village ordinance on nuisance, talks about noise limits, so I'm a little confused why you're not getting enforcement if there's some sort of issue. Here's what it says. No person shall cause or allow sound beyond the boundaries of said person's property located with any industrial, business, or public land area that unreasonably interferes with the enjoyment of life or any lawful business. You probably already know this. So I'm wondering if this is the case, and if you're saying you're getting measurable intrusive sound inside your building with the window shut, from inside their building 175 feet away, that we have an enforcement issue. And that ought to be measurable and it ought to be enforceable. But that being said, you know, we're looking at the beer garden tonight. So even with the reduced hours that Austin mentioned, I'm still troubled by the whole thing. Largely in leaving the base issue alone. On my property, in my home, in Bartlett, Illinois, when my neighbors have a party and you can hear the voices, not even a loud party, but maybe playing a game, maybe, you know, even without the TV going or a guitar playing. Right? The voices go up and down, just like Jerry said, and you put up with it because it's just for tonight. It's just one time. But here we're talking about every day of the week, right? Our neighbors are having a party. And it seems to me that is unreasonably interfering with the enjoyment of life and having a detrimental effect on neighboring properties. So I'm with Jerry on this one.
Anyone else have a question, comment? No one?
I'd like to see Mr. Maxud answer that. I mean, I know you inherited this from Murray, but hearing that, I mean, what can you do?
Tell you that the May 9th call did come to our facility. I personally wasn't there, but the next week when we had a band, I went to the back of our building, and truthfully, I could barely hear the band from the back of our building. Now, I'm not saying it's false, but I went there and tested it myself because we received a complaint from these folks. They called into my manager. The manager told me I wasn't there that night, but the next week we had a band. I went to the back of the building. I wanted to test it for myself. And I would tell you that it was barely audible when I was in the back of my building. And I'm willing to test that with police department, with you guys, where we have a band, standing back there and just listening. Because I don't want to cause pain to our neighbors. Really, that's not my intention. I really is not. And if that's the case, we need to fix it. But I tested it myself with that one band that was there on a Saturday night. They were allowed inside. I went to the back of the building, and I wanted to listen for myself because the manager told me about this complaint, and I could barely hear it. So I'm not sure what's happened in the past, but for this particular example, I tested it myself. And if the TVs and the acoustic music is a deal breaker, I'm willing not to do it. This is just people coming in, having a couple of beers and eating food, and by 8, 9 o'clock, they're gone. There might be a couple of people that are going to stand around and have a beer and talk, but it's not like it's going to be so loud that, you know, at 10 o'clock, everybody's gone. The outdoor is going to be closed. Nobody's going to be there. It's really from 6 o'clock where the weather is nice, 70 degrees, till 9 o'clock when they eat, and they're probably going to leave by 9:30, 10 o'clock. So if the TVs and the speakers are a deal breaker, I'm willing not to do that to make sure our neighbors are not disturbed.
Well, I mean, I'll speak for myself. I don't know if I'll speak for anyone else here, but I know it's businesses and owners like you that bring services to the people in Bartlett and make it enjoyable and make us want to live where we live. However, being a good neighbor is a #1 priority, and my interest that I want to see in this community of anything that we approve. It's not anything against, you succeeding in your business. Great, we love, outdoor venues, a lot of people do, but not at the detriment of others, obviously. And in order to improve that tonight, and correct me if I'm wrong, in order to approve this tonight, we would need to change and come to an agreement as to what that would be and have that change the findings of fact before we could approve it tonight. We can't approve it the way it sits right now.
I know a beer garden and outdoor facility was approved for Brock's, I want to say 3 years ago. And to my knowledge, there's been no complaints about them, and the neighbors are very close there as well. So I want you guys to keep that in mind as well. There's been no complaints to the police department for the last 2 or 3 years, and they're certainly not as close as we are, but they're close.
And did you FOIA that information to know that there was no police reports?
I'm sorry?
Did you do a Freedom of Information Act to make sure?
I didn't, but in the last village meeting that we had, that was brought up.
So just to clarify, Brock's Beer Garden is 220 feet from the townhomes. Their approved hours were Sunday through Thursday till 10 p.m. and Friday and Saturday till midnight.
And does Brock's have outdoor music?
They do not. That's prohibited. There's no outdoor music or entertainment as part of their special use.
They have outdoor TVs?
No.
Okay. And okay.
You're so concerned about the neighbors, then forget your project. Because all you're going to do is cause more problems if you build it. Just forget it.
Christie, is it true that Brox has not seen police reports or any police called out to the?
Police calls that have been out to Brox have not been in regard to the outdoor beer garden.
Okay.
There have been other complaints about people in the parking lot and things like that, but nothing pertaining to excess noise due to the beer garden.
Okay. If we have a motion with this tonight, if there's a motion made for this agenda item, as you stated, most people just want to go out there and have a beer or have some food, and they're gone by, 9, 10 o'clock. Are you willing to adjust these hours even more? Say 9 o'clock and maybe not have it all nights of the week, or maybe just focus it on, Thursday through Saturday, or something like that?
I'm willing to do that as well, yes.
Then I would like to see that put into the motion, the reduced hours, and then that way the village board can decide how they want to take it from there. I don't like the idea of TVs being out there either, just because I get some people want to go out there, have a beer, and just talk outside. But I think the TVs invite them to stay outside and talk even more. So I would not be in favor of having the TVs out there. I don't know if we need to put that into the motion, that there would be no type of, speakers or anything of that nature. And then, I don't know if you guys have in regards to hours, if there's something that you guys would like to see. We could recommend onto the village
You
board.
came up with good hours,
I think the hours you suggest.
if we're gonna pass it.
Would you rather seeing that it is closer to these homes, maybe a reduction in the hours to like 9 PM, Sunday through Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday? I would think that 11 PM would still be suitable.
I'm willing to do 10 PM as well, Friday and Saturday, if that's,
Okay.
because I really don't want my neighbors to be awake, and that's not my intention.
I think the question that I have is that the plan that you've presented, though I like beer gardens, I do. I've been to a couple different beer gardens with brick surrounding walls, and I think that is the better way of doing it. And I would like to see that the landlord, in this case, you have a landlord there, so you'd have to get his approval to come up with something that's more of a sound barrier type of structure. I believe that a fence that was utilized for a children's play place might not prevent or reduce the noise coming out of that area. And again, into the motion, I definitely, if you decide to take a vote, I definitely think that it should be a non-smoking area, being that close to the building.
So we have non-smoking, we have no types of speakers.
I think you could specifically say no televisions.
No televisions, no
think you should be specific on
amplification
that.
of sounds.
Yeah.
I understand too.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I understand too, this is a business, and to go through the expense of doing this, you want to be able to utilize the facility. So you need to determine if these cutbacks or these changes is even doable for you, I guess we're trying to work, I'm not necessarily saying a no, but I'm not necessarily saying yes either, given the current parameters that are in this. So he's got to be comfortable too with what we're changing, yeah.
Yeah, I think.
If he wants to continue with his business with that way.
Correct. I think that this way gives him some direction on what the plan commission wants to see, and then obviously the village board is going to have their say, and they might even change this even more. The village board could easily say they don't want to see the beer garden operating on Monday, Tuesdays, or Wednesdays, or something like that. So, this would just be, if it passes, would be our recommendation.
We're just
to
a
the village
recommending
board.
body.
Okay, so I have the reduction of the hours till 9 PM Sunday through Thursday, 10 PM on Friday and Saturday. And then I have need for more of a sound barrier, soundproofing.
Yeah.
Around the perimeter of the outdoor area. Is that what we're,
Something,
what does that, Are you looking for a taller fence, or?
I think we need to exceed the 8-foot fence with a sound barrier made up of something of a cement or brick wall, product,
Masonry wall, okay. 8-foot masonry wall that would provide additional sound barriers is what you're looking for? Okay.
And actually, my biggest concern on the whole thing, again, is the smoking and the fact that that door opens while the band's going on. Because that door being wide open is just an amplifier right there in itself.
So I think our bands are usually Friday and Saturday, and they usually start at 9 o'clock. So for the nights that we have bands, we can certainly close the outdoors at 9 o'clock. Right, again, I don't want to make this difficult for my neighbors, and I get that the noise is going to be an issue. So if we have bands, we close the outdoor for those nights.
Yeah. And that's, you know what, that's better for the bands anyways. They want the people inside, so.
Are you saying it's closed, or you're saying it's closed at 9 o'clock?
The outdoor is closed on Friday and Saturday at 9 o'clock.
With the band, okay.
The bands, it'll be open before 9 o'clock, but
Okay.
once the band starts at 9 o'clock, the outdoor is closed and nobody's going in and out.
Forward. Build someplace else.
And then did
And
you
I-
also include no smoking?
I have no smoking, and then I have no televisions or amplification or speakers. Anything else?
Smoking outside?
It's just going to be too close, and if it's that confined area,
And with pot, you can smell that all over the place.
yeah,
How's that going to be enforced?
that's not for me to, that's not my,
We don't
that's
have-
above my pay grade.
We don't have to make a motion. You know?
Yeah.
Any other comments, questions? Now, I have a comment. When Bannerman's first opened up, it was a family restaurant. It was designed for the kids after their youth sports to come in, have pizza, Coke, maybe play a little card game or something like that. And over the years, it's evolved into an adult entertainment.
Yes.
Got to evolve.
And the residents have mentioned that they have the smell of marijuana coming into their houses. And now that the governor signed the bill, it's going to be even more.
It'd be legal.
So what turned out from a nice family kid restaurant that now into, adults.
Playground.
So, nothing else? We're
Hearing.
looking for a motion.
Did you close the public hearing? Did you close the public hearing? Okay. Just making sure.
Looking for a motion for approval of the petitioner's request, subject to the following conditions and findings of fact. And
And with the added times, the fence requirements, no smoking, no TV or amplification of sounds. I think that's. Oh. Yeah, close, and the beer garden would close nights that there are bands at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, so moved.
so moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Secretary, call the roll.
John Miasso,
Yes.
Diane Nagel,
Yes.
Austin Hopkins,
Yes.
Jack Allen,
Yes.
Jerry Callis,
No.
Dan Gunstein? Yes. Mark Hopkins?
No.
Motion carried. Okay, thank you. Good luck.
You didn't waste your time.
Yeah, doesn't mean it's happening. It's got.
Next item on the agenda is old business, new business. I would like to welcome Renee to the Plan Department.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to
Been
be
for
here.
many years to have you helping us out on the planning. Would you care to give us a little background as to?
I'm coming here from Sugar Grove. I was in Sugar Grove for the last about 3.5 years as the planning and administrator out there. And previous to that, I worked with my husband, who's a private planning consultant, just on a part-time basis. We couldn't stand each other full-time. And prior to that, I was the zoning administrator in Elgin for a while, until I decided to stay home with kids for several years. So I'm back at it now. Very happy to be here.
Welcome.
Welcome aboard.
Have we heard anything more from Buc-ee's?
No.
I guess I asked too many questions.
They haven't started building yet, have they? Buc-ee's, no.
Okay, anyone else have anything?
They had, you did know they withdrew their application. Did you know that?
They what?
They withdrew their application. Did you know that?
No.
Yes, they did. They officially withdrew. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. If there's nothing else, staff have anything? No?
No, we've got some cases coming up that might be interesting for you, so we'll
Skip it, so it's so July, because I won't be here in July.
I think we can manage that.
Okay.
Might end up being August and September, so.
All right.
We'll see. We've got some more, we're pretty busy.
That's why. September. My daughter's getting married.
I do have a quick question for staff. When would staff be at a point where they can revisit the noise ordinance in our town in respect to different projects in the future? So I feel like it's an open-ended item that constantly is falling back on a state level or a default.
In the past, we've actually hired a consultant to take decibel levels before, and I can give you an example. It was up on Lake Street when Lake Street was being widened. Route 59 had IDOT out there, and they wanted to widen that with sound walls, and we did take some decibel levels, but we don't have anything to measure that. There are decibel levels in the code, so that we can do that. The last time our code, this excessive noise code, is from 2001, so it's not too terribly old. It's just, again, I think it's more of an enforcement thing that maybe we need to talk to the police department about. And, maybe we need to look at
Those residents obviously have a
decibel
valid
readings.
concern.
Yeah, and, maybe that's something that we have to, purchase and take a look at.
Yeah, and I think that is something that we're going to hear more and more of, as time goes on and businesses start coming to town here.
Right.
They're going to want the outdoor beer garden, but there has to be a limit to what they can have as their noise disturbance. And to Mark's point, people talking, it gets elevated. I know when I drink, I get elevated, and it just happens because everybody gets louder at the same time, and before you know it, everybody's shouting.
Right.
So,
Businesses are coming up with all, they're reinventing themselves, coming up with all different ways that they can, make their business profitable, work and add things, and yeah, that's not the only one that's gonna be wants, to add. And, like you said too, Bannerman's has changed a lot from when they first came to us. Said it was gonna be for the kids and soccer parties and.
An evolution for the town as the town is getting older.
Exactly. Look we got gambling at most of our facilities now. It's just, but if we need, I would like to see something that's enforceable. I don't want to see residents like that.
No.
And I knew that. She was a student at my school. So it was a little hard for me to do that. I don't want to see residents like that. Because that could be us.
That's right. We'll see what we can do. We'll talk to the police department too, but I think, we have decibel readings in our code. I mean, there's levels in there, so.
yeah, we want to encourage people to come to town, and having that on the front side will allow them to present their plan, a better plan than he presented today as a whole, if he knew what levels he had to be at and stuff, and mitigate that sound through sound walls and stuff. And I understand he's got a landlord, but I think that's going to make a big improvement to his plan if he gets that changed.
Well, I will tell you, do you remember, Mark, when the car wash came in,
Just what I was thinking.
what was that, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
And I believe it was you, put maximum decibel reading levels out on that vacuum. So, I mean, that's something that I think the staff will take a look at, what the code says as maximum decibel levels. Maybe that's a condition that we place, the board might direct staff to place that on this petitioner. I don't know, but that's something that
Great.
we can take a look at.
Pretty easy for our public service officer to be able to do that. I mean, there's apps for the phone these days
Yeah, I actually,
to measure sound.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, they got
Apps on a
iPads in
phone,
there,
that's
don't they?
right.
Because if there's a complaint, stand at the property line and check it out.
Yeah, so maybe that's what we take a look at as a staff. We come up with some decibel level maximums, and then there's our measurement.
Yeah.
And if you exceed that, okay.
Unfortunately, it sounded like they stopped calling the police department, and so the police department wasn't aware that the complaints were ongoing.
Yeah, if there's an ordinance, and it's really happening, as described, it's absolutely enforceable.
See, and I think what was happening is Bannerman's was one of those that got a special use for live entertainment indoors.
But live entertainment does not.
Allow you to exceed the excessive noise.
Right, the only thing that's an exclusion to this noise ordinance is a temporary special use permit,
Yes, that's right.
not a
Right,
full-time.
right, and this is ongoing, right.
Right, so it ought to be enforceable.
I agree.
I own 8 car washes, and in all the cities that I'm in, I get calls all the time. And when I get my site plans approved, I have to provide a decibel reading site plan similar to a photometric plan. And if I exceed that, I get a $100 ticket every single time. So, do I like it? No. As a resident of Bartlett, I think it would be something to look at in the future, because I comply, I actually comply with that on every single one of my locations.
What is your decibel level?
55
Wow, that's low.
Property line?
at the property line.
That is low.
That is low.
Actually, very low.
It
That's
is.
about what we're hearing right now.
I think we gave 85.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'll have to look that up.
30 times
Well,
louder.
is that
Now,
what the code is?
I'm not going to tell you that my customers don't raise their decibel levels when they're thumping their music in the parking lot.
Yeah, I hear
And
you.
those are the tickets that they get as well as I get.
you
So the
get
city,
them
I get it too, for not monitoring.
55, I have on my little chart here, 50 is a dishwasher, an older dishwasher.
Ever Clean Car Wash was required to stay within 55 decibels at the property line. If
I
was,
thought it was higher than
I
that.
think it was 55.
I think it was
I
higher.
thought it was higher, too.
We'll look it up.
It was around 95.
Believe me, the police officer and the sergeants come out with their tester, and they stand there. And I've been up in the 60s and 70 range when my door's not working, but when my door's down, I'm in the 55 to 60 range.
Well, I've got a rock band on here at 110.
Yeah, or landing airplane.
Well,
It's about the same.
I'll tell you, Bannerman's music is so loud that your eardrums are popping out of your head when you're in there. And it's good music, but it's loud, so.
Well, I don't want our commissions, or any commission in the Bartlett, to get blamed for something not being enforced that should be. It's by saying, well, you approved it.
Right.
That's not
Yeah,
what we approved.
that didn't ring, right, it
No.
sounded like it was confused.
The issue is just the bands, and it's kind of its own issue. We need to kind of focus more on just the beer garden itself.
Right, that's why we
Maybe
got
he
two
won't
things
proceed
going on,
because
right?
we've got these requirements, so maybe he won't go forward and he'll just go away.
I believe that's
Village
why,
board still has to
it is why the
weigh all
previous
this.
owner was,
Pardon?
that's why the previous owner was looking for space.
Yeah, he was looking for his own land, because to own it, not lease,
Right.
not rent it, not lease it.
Again, we want to encourage people to come to town and build here. It's the goal, but,
Not in my backyard.
yeah.
You said, I know bands in there can be really loud.
Yeah, and to the point here, I've been in there with my kids, and at 9 o'clock or 7:30, they tell you got to get your kids out of there, because I was there with my whole baseball team. The band was starting, and I had to be out of there at 8:30, whatever the time was. So it was no longer a family event, it turned into an
The
adult.
crowd changes.
Crowd changed in a minute, so.
Anyone else have any questions, comments? No? We have a motion to adjourn? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Good meeting.
Great job. Yeah, you missed a good one.